Yes, first tell me a little bit about, tell me what grade level you are and a little bit about like what you've been studying this year. I mean, I heard your presentation, but tell me.
Yeah, I'm currently in 11th grade.
Tell me a little bit about what you're studying this year in terms of the marine science stuff.
We haven't done much in terms of marine science. The big bulk of it has been this right here for the animal tracking as well as the ocean drilling, which you'll see.
Yes, next period, right? Okay, and so can you tell me?
I'm only a sophomore, and I studied the second smallest teacher.
The second
Smallest teacher.
Oh, which is?
The Olive River.
Oh, okay. And so have you, what other science classes have you taken before this?
In terms of high school, I guess the only class I've actually taken recent years is only biology and chemistry.
Okay.
I'm planning on taking physics next year.
Okay. And how about you?
Mine is the same because I'm only a sophomore, so I have.
How did you get yourself in this class?
Science is my favorite subject, so my chemistry teacher last year recommended that I go into an AP level class.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, so since I didn't hear your presentation, can you tell me a little bit about your tracking study? So you did an Olive Redley.
So my sea turtle was named Ayala, and they're known to be pelagic foragers, so they go into the open ocean sometimes. But all of the sea turtles stayed near the coast, but then Ayala went all the way to the continental shelf. And for being so small, it's kind of weird because there's a lot of big predators there that could have easily eaten her. And then I concluded this was all due to the increased chlorophyll levels, indicating more food there, and the colder waters have more nutrients for her, and it was also away from all the pollution.
So you saw along that edge of the continental shelf more chlorophyll? Okay. And what does she eat? I don't remember Olive Ridley's off the top of my head.
They eat like anything. They're known to actually ingest plastics a lot of the time, so it's always good. She was away from plastic. But they eat squid, fish. They also can eat plants.
Okay. So one of the things I'm most interested in learning about is how students and teachers feel about using authentic ocean data. So meaning that, the data that you're looking at, like these are the tracks of real animals, this is real chlorophyll data. So how have you guys felt about that? Was that interesting to you? Was that important to you?
It was very interesting to see the actual data and to make a presentation, analyze this actual data. It was really cool.
Why did you think it was cool?
I thought it was interesting to use actual data. I just found that I really like that.
I like the visual aspect of it, looking at the graphs and the fact that it was real life, and also the presentation really helped because knowing how to present is really important for teachers.
Yeah, no, that's a really important skill. And I could tell from both of you, like I didn't hear your whole talk, but you just talked me through so how you synthesize that information. So did you have to do additional, so like you were given the map, here you go, learn about your animal.
Pretty much like we were assigned the animal, we were assigned the year, they were just given flex to like all the different maps and see what was different about this specific animal, and they have to find out why that happened. I actually looked through all the maps like once, like I couldn't find anything. Then when I checked phytoplankton again, I noticed 2 different years. I'm just like, wait a minute, this might be it.
And so you had to go a little bit deeper.
Yeah, and I did like some further research. I found out like on this one website, I found like how a lot of the different animals that the northern elephant seal eats all eat plankton. I was like, okay, so maybe this has to do with it.
We also had to research the specific animal before to make sure like we understood. So we didn't just want to be looking at maps and not be able to understand them. So like we learned when the breeding seasons were and when like if they were supposed to migrate, and this really helped us interpret.
So you went and learned about the species before you even started looking at the maps. And why was that important to you?
Because when I looked at the map, when I did the research on the northern elephant seal before I looked at the map, so when I looked at the map, I was like, oh, because of this route, and I know it's a female elephant seal, and how it went up the coast for 2011, like that's weird. It usually stays out like in the
Yeah, that
open
was a
ocean.
really powerful thing to see that comparison between the 2 years. That was really good. And how about you? How did it help you to?
It helped me realize that it wasn't due to breeding, because I did have a female turtle, but at the end of it was at the end of breeding season, and so this was like her migration back out to sea to feed from the coastline, because it showed her like on the land, and then she left the land probably with her babies and went out to go feed.
So how does this compare? So you both taken chemistry and bio, and I know you've probably worked with some data, like maybe you looked at a graph in a textbook or something like that. So how does this compare to what you've done with data in other science classes?
I mean, usually, I think this is probably the first time I've actually used actual data. Like maybe the data that I've seen, like textbooks, maybe that was actual, but for all I know, it's more just example.
So how is this different for you in terms of studying?
Think about that.
You can bail them out.
The fact that it's online, like a lot of our classes are becoming more and more like online and internet based, and this was kind of, I'm like a visual learner, so I really like seeing the maps and like moving this stuff around and like changing the dates and trying to get to my own conclusion rather than reading about how a scientist did this and why a scientist thought that, because it helped me understand.
That's also why, like, where there's no one, like, we don't know what the answer was. We had to come up with our own answer without, like, having that sort of wide range, having that feeling of uncertainty. I thought that I really liked that. Also, I'm also like a visual learner. I also like seeing all the maps.
But isn't that harder to have to come up with something from, like, we don't know the answer?
Like, at first it seems like it's more difficult, but it's actually a bit easier because you don't have to, once you realize that this could be right, could be wrong, you don't have to worry about getting like, the wrong answer. As long as
That's a good way to look at
as
it.
you have the evidence to support it, like, to you, like, that could be, like, the right answer, like, what you think is correct.
Also, like, as an AP student, like, we're supposed to challenge ourselves and try different things, but this kind of level, I think, would have been interesting to learn in honors biology in 8th grade when we took it, because it's a better way of actually understanding it rather than reading it.
Why do you think it's better?
Just that you have to do it and you can't have other people tell you what to do, so you kind of learn for yourself.
Do you think that all students would be motivated, or do you think it's because you're AP students and like you're actually somewhat self-motivated?
I mean, maybe I feel like maybe this has to do with the AP aspect, because AP does focus a bit more on independent research. So maybe like an introductory like honors bio class or Regents bio class, you know, these students can be like just learning about bios, maybe like just being thrown into like, hey, time to research this animal, they might be a bit intimidated by that.
For like a lower level class, I believe it would be a cool thing if the teacher did it, like with all the students watching.
Kind of like modeled it first.
Yeah, just modeled it, and then I really think it would be good for them too, because due to the fact that they have to present, they have to come up with something. So they have to meet the deadline. So no matter what, it might have not been as in depth, but they could have had like a planned like sheet with like boxes to fill in that could have rather than just throwing it in.
Made it by like piece by
A
piece.
bit more guidance.
Yeah. So I interviewed a group of 7th graders last week that did it, and you know, like their things in their presentation stuff were not obviously as in depth as yours, but they actually said, and there was just a normal 7th grade class, so not an honors class. There were like students with disabilities in the class, and they kind of said a similar thing, that they enjoyed that they had to kind of work for it and figure it out. And I think that's sometimes motivating to students. And I mean, we're all used to like spoon feeding, you know, but this is like another way, another perspective.
Because you get that feeling of satisfaction, that eureka moment. Like I checked the chlorophyll maps again, and I found that, you know, this decrease in the amount of chlorophyll might be the reason why my elephant, you know, took a different route. It was like that moment, like, I did it. Like, this might be the answer. I just sort of like looked deeper into it. That's what I did for the presentation.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah. I actually think it's a good thing to have in the curriculum as we progress towards more online, and just the visual aspect and changing things. It was really good.
Did it make you feel more like a scientist to
Yeah.
do this? So how so? Like in particular?
Just really just like the independent research aspect of it, where not reading from a textbook, not looking at PowerPoint, taking down notes, just saying, here's your objective, go find that information yourself, and make a conclusion on your own. That felt like more something like an actual scientist or researcher would do.
We also got to publish what we thought in our journals, and I think that really made me feel more important, because anyone can read that. Like, it shows you when scientists read it, and they can see it, and it's just out there, and you kind of hope your conclusion is right, but with evidence, it's bound to be right.
Sure. Yeah, I think like you said, like you don't know, but you're doing exactly what the scientist is doing, and that's using evidence to support your explanation, right? So yeah, we don't know whether it's a female, and this is really, you know, if you're not given that information, but based on the evidence, it seems like a reasonable conclusion. So what are you guys, so you're in 11th grade, you're in 10th grade, so what are your next steps in terms of science? What are you going to take next year?
Well, so next year I'm doing physics. I'm also, hopefully I can get into the forensic science class.
Okay.
Because I'm going to see, like I've been having a little bit of interest in it over this year, so I want to see, take the class next year, and if I like it, I might go further down like that career path.
Okay.
So next year I'm planning on taking physics also, and then my following year as a senior, I really want to take environmental science, and I decided that after the college unit year, I really liked that. But science is like the only class I actually like, so I'd probably pursue it in college.
Sounds like a good reason
I'm
to
not
pursue
sure
it.
yet, but I will.
Okay. And what about, have you guys done any scientific research projects before? Like, have you ever had to do an independent research or a science fair project? Or?
I've done I did like a science fair experiment years ago, like this little fair where I did like research about like rocks and everything, monsters, about like putting in there like different liquids to see which one rusts the most.
How did this compare to that?
It was very different. It's like, because back then I think it was like middle school. I think it was in elementary school. So I knew like very little about like the scientific process or how like what to expect. Like I knew about like, pH, and that was about it. That was about the basis of my entire experiment. So obviously I know a lot more about doing research now. So now it's much easier to formulate a conclusion, a hypothesis into the research.
How about you?
I'm actually in a scientific research class at the school. It's called STIR, and we choose our topics, and for 3 years we research
Is it like a Generon? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
We enter competitions. We study alongside a mentor. So like, it's kind of more scientists. A lot of people don't have the opportunity to take it, or like they're not. It's all independent, so it takes a lot of motivation.
Self-motivation, right?
And This doesn't really compare to that because it's not on like such a broad, like a lot of people do more like disease study based stuff, but this was still really similar and then we did the research by ourselves.
How did it make you think about the scientific processes? How did you apply those? You mentioned that. How did you apply those in this project?
Because how I really applied was that, like, even though it's, I guess, for this one, I didn't really have a hypothesis to go in. I didn't know like what could be the reason why, because I wasn't familiar with all the different maps or what they all could mean. So I was looking at every map until I found something that might be something to that, and once I thought I found the answer,
Same thing. Well, thank you.